You know, I do wonder sometimes about what lies deep within us, you know. There's a I've watched it like 2 times today already. There's a scene in the movie Barry Lyndon.
It was very imprudent of him, but when Barry saw the splendor of the Chevalier's appearance, the nobleness of his manner, he felt it impossible to keep disguise with him. Those who have never been out of their country know little what it is to hear a friendly voice in captivity. And there's many a man who will not understand the cause of the burst of feeling which was now about to take place.
Scheint mir der Richtige zu sein.
Dankeschön, Euer Gnade.
Ist ihm nicht wohl?
Sir, I have a confession to make to you. I'm an Irishman, and my name is Redmond Barry. I was abducted into the Prussian army 2 years ago, and now I've been put into your service by my Captain Pottsdorf and his uncle, the Minister of Police, to serve as a watch upon your actions and to give information to the same quarter.
The Chevalier was as much affected as Barry at thus finding one of his countrymen. For he, too, was an exile from home, and a friendly voice, a look, brought the old country back to his memory again.
And I've seen that scene so many times, and I don't know what it is about it. There's something about the Irish heritage in me that I've always felt this weird connection to. More than I could ever explain, you know? My family has been in this fucking country for a long time. A long time. But just like any family, there's certain parts of it that, you know, there's my patriarchal, my father's side, I've been here since 1600s, but you look at my mother's side and it's much more recent that they all were coming over here. But the Irish part in me is only a few generations old. So, like, I don't know, it probably would be my great-great-grandfather would be the Irishman, but maybe not. I don't, you know, his ancestry just kind of dissolved. But there's a part of me in my maternal side, her father was the Irishman, right? And that's where that heritage comes from. And that's that shit that I really, you know, feel identified with. And even never been to Ireland, don't know the language. I bet a lot of Irish don't either. I don't, you know, I've never, you know, I don't know, I've never even met an Irish person. I think about if I met one, I'm pretty sure there'd be a part of me that would weep. Because there's something that I just feel so connected to that it makes me just so upset knowing that I'm not there. And I can't explain that because, like, I've never, you know, you were never there. You were born in America. But there's this weird, ancient heritage, DNA, ancestry, whatever word, that just longs for it. Just deeply longs for it. I'll see pictures of any specific part of Ireland, or I'll look into the mythology, look into the history, look into, you know, the culture, whatever. Like, it just, something about it just makes me really sad that I don't have it. And I long to see it, and I long to be there, and it almost feels like that's home. If that makes sense to anybody, I don't know, but it just feels like out there, that is home. And I've just been kind of adrift. You know, we've all been adrift. Now we should return back to the place where we come from, you know? Or at least the place we identify with. I know that, you know, the Irish aren't even the natural inhabitants of that place, and there's a lot of crazy shit that happened there, but there's something that you can identify with. And that I cannot explain at all. But I just wanted to kind of say something about that because it's been bothering me more and more as time goes on. You know, I'm more of an Englishman, which is weird. Like if you look at my DNA, I have a lot more English blood in me than Irish blood. But I don't identify with that. You know, it's so weird. It's so weird to think about that. I don't identify with that in any way whatsoever. It doesn't mean anything to me. Just kind of, I feel spiritually connected to the Irish people as a consciousness, as a culture, not necessarily individual groups. You know, like, you know, because like I said, I've never met any. It's just as a concept, maybe. I feel a connection there. And do you remember I told you about this book here? I'll get it. This one here, The History of Ireland. I've had it redone, you know, made up. And what happened was I was going to this antique shop. And I was starting to kind of get interested in getting old books because I'm like, you know, I'm looking for old sources and shit. It was more mainly for the research of the book I'm writing. So I just thought, like, well, let's get some old books about history and stuff, and let's try to not be near anything modern, because modern shit seems to be fucking too confusing. Anything, you know, that I notice about modern shit, it just takes away, and I don't like it. So I was looking for older sources of things, and I wanted to get physical copies. I like the idea of having a leather-bound book, even though this is a quarter-bound, right? I think that's what they call it. And so I just was going through there, and all the way, there's a giant bookshelf, man, about as big as the window behind me, full of books. And all the way at the bottom in the far corner was this book. And this cover was ripped off, and it was just these, but some of the stitching was apart, so the pages were coming out, and the back, and then just this was kind of hanging. And I would pick it up every once in a while. Like, for the first time I picked it up, and I just thought, I opened it up, probably just like halfway through, and just heard kind of reading about it. I'm like, the history of Ireland. Interesting. And I'd put it back. And I'd come back the next day and pick it up and read it again. And I'd constantly kept picking the thing up. And there was this thing inside of me that was like, man, this poor old book. Just neglected down there in the corner. And I don't know if you know anything about fucking antique shops, but they overcharge like a motherfucker. They're starting to get really Jewy about stuff now. And they wanted like $50 for a fucking destroyed book. Or 75 actually. And I was like, fucking A. But I told myself we have to get that book. And we should get it, and we should get it repaired professionally. And so I did. And I've been reading it, and there's something special about it that I can't really put into words. And same with the Irish mythology. I've never even heard of any of it. And I'm finding more and more, like the Taun and stuff like that. You know, Cuchulainn, I think that's how you say his name. And all this, Setanta, you know. All this kind of stuff I've been like looking into more, and it's just like, holy shit, I don't know what it is, but like, something feels, right? It resonates. And I've been like looking into YouTube channels to find people that are Irish, and I found Mythical Ireland. That's actually where I got this, someone that made this in Ireland, in the Boyne Valley, as they say. And I don't know, I wear it every day. It means something to me. I always have it against my heart. Just, I don't know why. I can't help but feel that way about it. And I can't help but be drawn to it. And when I got this book fixed, it was like $250 is what it cost me to get this thing fixed. So I ended up spending $300 on the history of Ireland, basically. But I think it's worth it. It was worth every penny. Just because of... I don't know, man. I wish I could like really put it into words. But I'm so saddened that I'm not there. I'm so saddened that part of my family left that place. That they walked away from it. For whatever reason, and I'm sure is because of the famine, which is another thing that fucking makes me upset. And I just get so upset about what those people have been through. Or when I look at the whole thing going on with the IRA and all that, and I'm like, I understand. Like, I know it sucks and people can be hurt and killed and it sucks. But I get it. You know, there's a part of me that understands it, man. That should not be theirs. It's like nothing that will ever be put into words, but just something that I feel. And when I tell you about George William Russell, and say what you will about people like that, you know, or even like people claim this guy might be an anglicized Irishman. Like, how can they help it? That's what the fucking English do. Well, that fucked up shit. But when I found George William Russell, and I'm reading his poetry and stuff, and the Irishman in me is resound. Like, I just feel so joyful being exposed to anything from that country. Anything, just even a fucking small thing. If I like met an Irishman, like I said, I don't know if I could not cry, because it would be so meaningful to me. I would just say like, oh my God, like, you know, what you come from is so, like, it would be overwhelming to me. And I really couldn't tell you any more reason why. It's not anything I could ever put into words, and it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I know exactly what he's talking about. This might not make any sense to anybody, but there's a part deep inside that longs to see that place. Longs to see it. This is kind of like a serendipitous thing, but here's like a nail in the coffin if you want to think of it like this. So I did the DNA test. I wanted to, you know, I never suspected anything. I was just curious. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I'll see what's up. And it said, okay, you know, you're 30-something% Irish, right? Out of a few others. But we can kind of trace exactly where you come from. It's like, okay, sure, whatever. And it was in Munster, and it was I think they call the Beara Peninsula, all the way there at the bottom. I was like, oh, the Beara Peninsula, Beara, okay. That's very, whatever, I'm not sure what that means. And I look into it more. And it was one of the last Gaelic, I don't remember the word they used, but like the last king of Ireland in a sense, one of them, or chieftains, or I forgot the terminology for it. And he fought against the British, and something with the Spaniards. They were waiting for them to come, and they were at this castle, Dunboy, was it Dunboy? That they were making their stand, or something of that nature. Well, it just so happens that when that was going on, it was around when I was born, June 22nd. Which many, many years later, in the 50s, they put like a plaque on the side of, I think it's Dunboy Castle. Forgive me if I'm getting all this wrong. I'm not very good remembering history. But on that plaque, they commemorated it on June 22nd, if I'm not mistaken. And that's the exact day I was born on. And when I saw that, I was like, that's it. Like, there's a connection here.